Want some candy?
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass. I'm all out of bubblegum.
Well, hello, Mr. Fancy Pants.
I hear you looking for candy, man, bitch.
Give me some sugar, baby. Like scary movies.
Want some candy?
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to another episode of Monster Candy Podcast. That's right, we're back once again. Unfortunately, still without Shotzi Blackheart, who is currently kicking ass and, well, going through an adventure. Let's put it that way. We'll talk about that. My name is Dominic Davi. You know me from the band Tsunami Bomb and the podcast 3 Gigs, and I'm here as always with my dear companda, Screamin E.
Hey, what's up, everybody?
From the Memphis Murder Men. We're here to talk about horror news, and toys, and trains, and Korea, and South Korea. Yeah, that's right. As you know from basically clicking on this episode, we're going to talk about Train to Busan. Alright, but first, before we get into that, it's time for horror news. Oh, wait, I'm not going to say it. Let's have Shotzi say it.
Horror news!
Thank you, Shotzi.
Shut up, Dom.
Fuck you, Shotzi. She said, shut up, Tom.
So, before we get into horror news, since we had the lovely Miss Blackheart introduce it,
We're looking at the chair she usually sits, and it's empty. And it's a little sad.
let's discuss her adventure.
Yes.
Which actually is horror news.
It is. It's horrible.
It's quite horrific.
It's quite horrific. So why don't you start it off to let people know, though hopefully some people do follow her and we don't know what's going on.
Well, by now, you guys should know that they found her car and her gear and her helmet, her beloved helmet.
But if they haven't followed, you just gave away the ending.
Yes.
Screamin E, you're fired.
They'll find out by now. Anyway, so I get a call at 4:30 in the morning.
Mm-hmm. That's early.
Early for here. Not so early in Florida. From Shotzi. Oh my God. Somebody stole my car. And I'm like, what the fuck? Usually,
So bad.
if it's a call that early, when I should be sleeping, it's an emergency. So I was like, oh my God, what the fuck?
Yeah, 4:30 a.m. calls are...
And it was an emergency. It was a fucking emergency. So I've been through it.
Yeah, but what are you going to do about it?
She has been here. Hey, man, she's probably like, fuck. I need someone to calm me down. Anyway, and she was here when my car got stolen.
Mm-hmm.
Just happened to be a white Honda Civic with 2 doors, just like the one she has. And apparently we have terrible luck with those. Although
I should just not buy that car.
I had mine for like 17 years, so it was...
Yeah, but I feel like it's a sign from God telling you that car, that type of car is just not for you guys.
Right. So, but the shitty thing was cars can be replaced. She wasn't tripping too much about that. It was just kind of a shock to her. The biggest thing she was upset about, it had her gear and her beloved helmet in the trunk.
Mm-hmm.
And those things are hard to replace, especially that helmet. So that was a bummer, but the helmet has been recovered and is intact. Can't say so much about the car.
Yeah, apparently the car has been crashed into something, which is pretty fucked. I mean, seriously.
Stolen cars suck.
Yeah.
She kind of had the same reaction as I did from mine.
A mixture of feelings, I imagine.
First was shock, like, what the fuck?
Mm-hmm.
And then it was just like, oh my God, this is... Like, seriously? Alright. You know, kind of like, fuck. What are you going to do? Except laugh, like, I can't believe my fucking car got stolen. And, you know. Yeah, it's not the greatest feeling, but you just can't do anything about it.
No, you can't. And it's like, it's such a violation and a helpless feeling.
That's the worst part.
That's just so messed up. But damn. But you know what? Like, she got the helmet back. It's unbelievable. Just found this out the day we're recording.
Right.
So, like, that's almost unbelievable that happened.
Dude,
I figured it was long gone. If any of you follow Shotzi, you know that helmet is very distinctive. It's got horns on it. She's kind of customized this thing. It's kind of become part of the thing.
Has a patch I got her. A TCB patch I got her from Graceland. So, I mean, it's like...
It's a thing.
And we didn't buy another one when we were just there. So it was like...
Right.
If it would have been gone, I'm like, dude, we gotta fucking go. Anyway, but yeah, I understand the feeling of having something special. Because in my car... My Honda, the thing I was most pissed about was I used to valet cars back in the Berg. And I still had a lockbox key from when I did that in that car. I had that car while I was doing that. It was in there, and I was like, fuck.
Man.
My lockbox key, like... Shout out to K7, fucking parking company. But I was like, I was so pissed about it because it was like, it was a new key, one that hasn't really been used yet. So it was still all chrome and on thing. And that's the thing I was most pissed about. So I get it. The car was like, fuck, it's gone. That sucks. But that key, I cannot replace that. So, but she got her helmet back. So that's good.
That's awesome. It's a horrible story. Not without a silver lining.
Yeah. At least something good came out of it.
Yeah. At least she got her helmet back.
Indeed.
And her stuff. But I mean, it seemed like her fans really rallied around her and were trying to like get her stuff. Like stuff gear. Get her some gear to do. Which was really cool. Because it really looked like she was not going to get it. It was not coming back. She was just screwed.
Well, WWE did get her a helmet, but it was not.
It's not the helmet.
The helmet or the quality of the other.
But hopefully she can customize the other stuff. Like now that she got some stuff from people, she's got some replacements now.
Yeah,
for some of the padding and the gear and.
I had a backup helmet, but again, it was not going to get to her by the time she needed it. So, but it's back. It's back, baby. It's back, baby.
It's back. It's amazing.
Now let's get to the real horror.
We got some more.
What are you doing?
I mean, do you want to talk? Which do you want to talk about?
The horror news.
Okay. What do you want to talk about?
I only have two things to talk about in the horror news. One is In Search of Darkness Season 2.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Got announced.
October.
So tell everyone what this is.
So Season 1 was basically the 80s.
We talked about this, didn't we? Yeah,
a little bit. Yeah, a little bit. They every year they went through the whole thing.
That's so crazy. I honestly haven't been able to watch it yet.
It's so good.
No time.
It's so good.
Yeah.
4 hours long, but it's good. So they go through every year the different movies that came out in the year. They have the special guests. Darcy the Mail Girl's in there. Joe Bob Briggs. Shout out to those motherfuckers. And just a whole shit ton of people that would be like, fuck yeah, that talk about the movies they were in or other movies that they liked. And, it's a good watch. So Season 2 should be awesome.
Yeah, that's so sick. All right, I will definitely tune in. And you say everyone else should tune in. Season 1, it's on Shudder, one of our favorite.
Yeah.
It's one of our favorite streaming platforms.
Initially, I was not aware it was going to be 4 hours long until I clicked on it. I was like, holy fuck, that's 4 hours long. All right. So it took me a few days to get through it.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm not going to do it
I'm
all
surprised that if they have something that's like that, they don't do it episodic. Like, what's the harm in breaking up into hour-long episodes and having a series?
Yeah.
Like, wouldn't that even be cooler? Like, isn't that a marketable thing as well? Like, to have something that's like cut, there's a break,
Yeah. Was something like that, yeah, because they went year by year. It
Yeah,
wasn't
they,
just like a
they
whole
could
thing.
stop around 60 minutes and then like do a break and then start again. I don't know. I
especially
mean, that's
before
my
hours.
vote.
But I'm glad we have it. Season 2 should be cool. I don't know what decade they'll do, or if they'll keep that same format.
I don't know. They might do what we did, go after 70s. You know, that would be an amazing time. Because then 70s, you see the rise of modern horror.
Yeah.
You go from like the classic age to the slasher and the gore and the effects are ramp up. And that would be an interesting era to cover, too.
Yeah.
Like, I never thought... I think so much about 80s horror. I think we all do. But really, 70s is the evolution of that. And that's what I found out when we talked about the 70s. On our episode, like, I realized how much there was to offer.
What if they do the 70s next? Oh, I'm going to start to wonder if I don't see a pattern there. I wonder where...
Well, yeah, I know. I mean, you know, we are an influential show. No,
But yeah, I'll be interested to see what... or if they'll even keep the same format.
Nobody
doing
listens to us now that Shotzi's not on the show. They just don't care.
How dare they?
It started with Silver Bullet, man. We lost them with Silver
No
Bullet.
fucking Silver Bullet. Or is it only the right people are listening to it, since Shudder's totally
Just
aping
like,
us?
Yeah, just like
TV execs are
Still
like,
it
all right, what
down.
are they gonna... Anyway, so yeah, it'd be cool to see if they keep the same format by doing each decade,
yeah, it'd
year
be
by year.
interesting.
And they said a lot of the same shit we did,
Yeah,
like in that episode we did, the first one. You know, mentioned a lot of the same movies.
you'd heard it here because
Mm-hmm.
the movies we mentioned were good movies.
Yeah. We could probably do like 5 more parts to the 80s.
Yeah, there's a lot to
There's
talk about.
so much in the 80s. Like watching that, like you knew it because we lived through it, but sitting there for hours at a time and just listening to them, you know, pull out this movie and that movie, you're like, holy fuck, that's a lot of movies, like even for 1 year.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and it's a whole decade of it. It's definitely when horror was just exploded. So that'd be cool. Keep an eye out for that in October. And season 2 of Cursed Films,
Oh, really?
which will air in 2021 at some point.
You know, Cursed Films season 1. This I did see. I enjoyed it, but it was interesting to watch this thing that kind of presented itself as themed in a certain direction and then kind of debunks itself the entire time. You know, but it does so in a really good way, in a really respectful way to the films and the people affected by them. And so I really actually do recommend that series because it's a really cool, realistic, and mature look at this myth.
The lore of all these.
Yeah.
Oh man, these
And they
cursed
do
films.
have it. But I mean, I don't know. I guess I'm sitting here thinking, are there enough cursed films to do a season 2? I guess there are, but they covered the ones I had heard of.
Guess we're about to find out.
Yeah, right? It's going to be Wizard of Oz. That'd be interesting.
Probably.
That would probably be up there.
You would think.
Yeah. Anyway. So, there's that. 2 good documentaries. That's pretty sweet.
Check that out. And then everyone knows season 3 of The Last Drive-In will be coming soon.
Yeah, you're going to Florida, aren't you?
By this time this episode airs, I will have already been there.
Yeah.
I'm like a fucking time traveler,
I hope
bro.
you had a really great time, man.
You know, as I reflect back on it while I'm in the future, it was great.
It was great. It's
Really
so
hot
good.
and a lot of lizards.
So good. So good.
So what were you gonna say?
Well, you know, this isn't like news or anything, but I just tried a new game.
Okay.
A new board game that's horror themed. It's been around for a while and it constantly makes the top 10 lists. But Fantasy Flight Games Arkham Horror. It's a living card game. I tried it for the first time and I have to say it was actually pretty cool. It was kind of a pain in the ass to get a hold on how to play it.
Right.
Some of these games, they overcomplicate things too much, which is the kind of the downside of it.
Mixtape Massacre was kind of like that.
Yeah.
It wasn't real bad. But
Mixtape Massacre, which is a great game, is more simple than many of of them.
Right.
Like, I really love the horror game Camp Grizzly. I recommended it a while back on the show. And that's a great horror game and my favorite, but there are a lot of gears to turn. And people I teach how to play it love it, but even they say, like, there's a lot of gears going. Like, you have to, like, turn this, do that, do this, do that, you know, and to make it happen. But the lore and the response and the story, it's really good. And it's funny because when you watch reviews of that game, people say, okay, this game's pretty simple. And it's like the board game scene, like, really likes complicated games, if I feel like.
Yeah.
You know, like, that's their way of justifying playing board games, I think, sometimes, is they want these complicated,
well, it's
crazy
really going to
ones.
make you think. And,
Yeah,
you know.
and it's like, I'm not saying that, I'm not hating on it. If you like a good, complicated board game, that's awesome, but, like, sometimes it's good just to be able to drop in and play, like, the simplicity factor and fun replayability. So Arkham Horror takes a minute, and it's a living card game, which means that it doesn't just sit on what you have and play. The story continues to develop depending on the modules you pick up.
Right.
And then they have certain ones that are standalone, but then they have these, like, whole arcs. So you can buy a couple modules. So it's like, a lot of the reviews are like, great game. Hope you got some money because you're going to be picking up some extra pieces on this. Which I don't mind doing if it's entertaining. But I was surprised how cinematic it was. Because you're basically exploring, picking up clues, trying to get through an adventure to the end. And I was really impressed with how you're racing the clock. Like, all the players are on the same side. The game's trying to beat you. So you're playing against the game and a clock that ticks down. So I was really kind of impressed.
That's pretty interesting.
Yeah, so you're racing, and so you're trying to move through 3 acts that tell the story that you're experiencing. And meanwhile, that's a deck of cards. And then there's another deck of cards that represents the kind of the intensity of the scene. And the longer it takes, the more likely the game is going to tick it to another level, and things are going to get more complicated. And it's basically more things, things trying to attack you. And then there's another deck of cards that you're running through, like they represent rooms and locations as you're trying to get clues. So it's like, there's a lot to get. But once you have it laid out, it does function pretty simply. But when I first opened it, I was like, how the fuck is this going to work? But as I learned it, they have a really good rule book that's small, and it plays you through a game. So, like, it kind of teaches you, like, okay, now do this. Now do this. Now do this. And by the end, you're like, now you know how to play the game. Here's a bigger rule book to look up rules when you have questions. And I was like, that actually worked. So, I have to say, if you're interested in a cinematic, if you like card games, you like horror, you like Lovecraft, which you guys know I do, Arkham Horror is actually a really good game. It's been out for a number of years, and it's really good, and I really like it. I have to say, it was kick-ass. You can play you can be one person or 2. You have to buy 2 sets, wink wink, to get 4 people to play, but it's good.
Those fucking bastards.
Yeah, it's definitely it feels like such a money grab. I was like, seriously, you need to buy 2 core sets to make 4 people play, and you have modules that people have to pick up? You don't have to make everything. You don't have to make money on everything. You can, like, give everyone a...
Sounds like Roblox.
Dude, I don't know. That's funny. I haven't heard that name in a while. But yeah, so anyway, it's I gotta recommend it. So that falls under... It's not new news. I'm sure there's people here that are listening that have played this game. This game's been out for a minute.
Speaking of Lovecraftian type things.
Yes.
The Beach House.
Yeah, the Beach House. Yeah, the Beach House. Does this count as horror news, or should this get an episode?
Is there enough to talk about the Beach House?
Barely. It'll be a shorter episode.
We could save it for that, but
I had somebody in our Facebook group get bummed out at me because I liked it.
I saw that.
I know, and I was like,
shout out to Alan Fry.
Yeah,
he was not happy.
Yeah, I recommended it, and I said, dude, you guys should check this out. This is kind of fun. And I was like, well, I wasn't trying to say it was going to lead you to a whole new level.
You know, I don't think that was really him talking. I think that was his wife talking.
He did mention his wife was more bummed out about it than he was.
So he probably caught some shit for it, and he was like,
well, it's a slow-moving movie, but a lot of the horror movies now are like that. And I think it's in response to, like, how blockbusters are so over the top. So you get like Marvel movies where everything's exploding. Like horror movies and indie horror movies have slowed everything down and try and savor these moments in suspense.
Speaking of Blockbuster, did you see that the last Blockbuster in America is like an Airbnb now?
That's weird. What?
Yeah.
I think I saw something about this, but I don't remember. Why is it an Airbnb now?
Because it's like the last one. It still has all the fucking movies in it, and you can rent it out.
And sleep there?
Sleep there, yeah. And watch the movies and hang out in the Blockbuster.
I guess you do what you got to do to keep your business open. Because isn't it...
I mean, it's kind of a cool idea.
On this lady, like she just kind of kept it open, and it was kind of one of the few independent ones. And even after they stopped being serviced, they still had a fan base that they had developed, and she was making ends meet. I guess she had to like take it to another level.
It's not a bad idea.
I mean, it's 2020, man. You got to do what you got to do to get through this year.
But I mean, I would stay there. The last remaining. I mean, well, I wouldn't because I.
Maybe if it was a silver screen. I was actually never a big fan of Blockbuster because I liked other places better. But yeah, Blockbuster.
Well, I mean, I'm just not a big fan of
everybody's
Airbnbs. I'm like,
dude, I've had the worst luck with Airbnbs.
I'm like, how well are you people really cleaning this shit? But,
seriously, no joke. I have the worst luck in Airbnbs. The only time I have a good experience in an Airbnb is when someone else books it. If I book it, it's creepy. It's Creepyville, USA. It's the worst thing ever. No, I mean, you're nodding and you're giving me this look like, oh, okay. And I was like, no, you don't understand. It's been multiple times. It's like you and Shotzi buying a white Civic Honda 2-door sedan again. It's like, seriously, this happens.
Or flying through Phoenix.
It's no, it's just, it always goes wrong. And like, I mean, even when I got married, my wedding night, they fucked up the room and put us in the wrong place. And then they made it just awful. There was another time I stayed there and my girl got hives from the sheets. Another time that a place was supposed to be empty, it said it was empty, and then I showed up and the people are living there.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and they were like wanting to like hang out and commenting on like my girlfriend's looks, you know, of the relationship I was in at the time. I could go fucking on. Like payment got screwed up one time. I have like the owner getting all weird and in my face about stuff, and it's like Airbnb's explained that it's on their end, it's their fault, they messed up, and I had to like still come up with my. I will not. I'm a hotel person. I stay at hotels. That's what I want. I don't want to stay in your house. I don't want your bullshit. I don't want your fucking crappy stuff. I just wanna be safe in a. I want a hotel that nobody knows me and doesn't care.
Yeah, that whole idea has always been creepy to me anyway.
Yeah.
But, well, that sucks.
Yeah, I'm not in.
But the Blockbuster, I think, would be a cool thing.
All right, yeah. Not for me. But yeah. What were we talking about for the Blockbuster? What were we about to?
The Beach House, which will get its own episode.
There it is. Okay, yeah. I mean, should it get its own episode? Or can I defend myself to our fans right now?
Whatever you want to do. I'm
going to
good.
defend myself.
All
I
right.
still say this movie is a legit independent movie worth watching. It's nothing new. I said that. I said it was nothing new. You told me when you said, hey, you might like this. It's nothing new, but it's cool. And I thought it was cool. I mean, it does come to a bit of an abrupt end.
I agree.
But, I mean...
You have to know what you're getting into, I think.
It looks to me like in the modern times, people didn't have a lot of money, but they made a really cool Parasite
or at least
possession movie with like body snatcher overtones and Night of the Living Dead overtones, and just kind of making it color out of space.
Yeah. It's very Lovecraftian, so if you're familiar with that kind of style, then it's not too bad of a shocker that you're like, what the fuck?
I mean,
you know
the
what I mean?
actors aren't very good, but they're not unwatchable.
No, it was entertaining.
They were a little wooden, like they were a little wooden. Like I think when the girl is not good until everything goes to hell, and then she's actually great.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know, man. I was like, I don't think who what was his name? Who
Alan.
Alan?
Yeah.
Fuck you, Alan. I thought No, I mean, I'm sorry I got you in trouble with your wife, but still, man, like, that movie ain't that bad. Like,
It's not. It's
I
not
didn't
bad.
say it was gonna change your life, and he admitted that I didn't say it was gonna change his life. But like, I think it's a good. I still stand by that is a fun movie. Is it the best? But I would put it on a shelf with like We Are Still Here. I'd put it on a shelf with Color Out of Space.
It was entertaining.
yeah.
I mean, I watched it and I was, I'm not the big Lovecraft fan, but I was like, it's not bad. There were some, of course there's some issues with it, but I'm like,
It felt like watching a good cover band or like a good band that you know all of its references. Like when we watch a band that we're like, oh yeah, this is totally like such and such band mixed with this band, and you can see it, and like they totally got that tone. And it's like you watch it and you're like, this isn't bad, but I mean, this is totally like, I've seen this before, but I don't hate it. I'm not bummed on it. But
Yeah.
I was sorry but legitimately, man, I'm sorry that your wife did not like that movie and you thought it was a bore fest. Can't always be right, but I'm just recommending things based on what I think is interesting, and I think that one's interesting. I don't have a problem with slower moving horror movies because that's the style right now.
right. And I'm not even that big a fan of stuff like that, but I didn't think it was too bad.
No.
My biggest issue was a lot of the Lovecraft inspired movies or directors or writers or whoever's doing the movie all seem to get in the habit of just stopping the movie, like cutting it like like the cliffhanger, like, well, what happened? We don't know. Do you know? Maybe everything, maybe nothing. I don't know.
Yeah, I didn't like the cliffhanger that this ended on. It didn't ruin the movie to me, but I did not like how
There could have been something else.
I know what they were trying to do
Right.
with that ending, but I was like, that wasn't
It was a bad attempt at a Lovecraftian ending.
No, they needed to just like,
You could have explained a little bit more.
yeah, that would have, I think, made the difference. Because if you're gonna, I will say this, Alan, and I'm speaking directly to you. I will say that if you're gonna do a slower paced suspense movie, then you need to have a really successful payoff. And for these guys, it was the transformation scene, like they were trying to show what was actually happening.
Right.
A more clear end result, but that wasn't enough. Like it was a great scene, but it didn't tie up this movie really well. Like you needed to give some sort of solution and payoff for this suspenseful, quiet waiting.
And the ending just didn't match the setup.
No, and I think like it's not. This movie's not without its flaws, but what's the movie called? The possession movie that Shotzi was so terrified of.
Heredity?
Heredity.
Yeah.
Heredity? No.
Hereditary?
Are we saying that right?
Hereditary.
I'm tired. What's your excuse? Hereditary? Hereditary.
Yeah.
Right? We did an episode on this.
Yeah.
Hereditary.
Yeah.
Okay, 2018's Hereditary. That is a slow-moving film, but it has some beats where things happen, and then once things go to hell, things go to hell.
Right.
Like, they go off, and they even move fast. And that's what's actually awesome, because you have this fast-moving scene, and if you've watched it, you know what I'm talking about, where it just goes crazy, and there's a bit of a payoff for this slow build.
It for me, it wasn't the best explanation as far as like what the explanation was, but at least there was some sort of like tie-in.
Yeah,
at
there
the
was
end,
a
so
bit
you're
of a
like,
payoff.
Like, all right, I don't necessarily agree with it, but at least there is one.
Remember, we found out they cut out a lot of that
Yeah.
movie that like suddenly changed the pacing
Right.
of everything, and I think they made a shorter movie that made sense, but the pacing had some major issues. I also think that another movie like that was The Witch, which I think its payoff wasn't as strong but it was like, I mean, there was an actual payoff of like this slow suspense, like it wasn't just this weird thing, but I really feel like there's that I agree with you, Alan. There was no big payoff in The Beach House, but I still think it was a fun invasion variation movie.
Yeah.
You know, I think that was a lot of fun.
I agree.
But
Like I
yeah.
said, I think Alan was just feeling the heat. And he
You know,
needed it.
I feel bad, Alan. I didn't mean to steer you wrong, and everyone else, like, I'm not trying to say that this movie's gonna change your life. It's just a fun, entertaining film.
But your wife, husband, partner might get mad at you.
You might get. Don't hinge your choices on this. Watch it on a night where you're feeling like watching crazy. You're
Watch it
open-
alone, so no one can get mad at you except yourself.
No one can get mad at you except for yourself.
There you go.
All right. So sorry, Alan. Truthfully, I am sorry. I don't want to get anyone into trouble here. That's not the point. What else? You know what? We were gonna do a bonus round. It's not horror, but we were gonna talk about Transformers.
Science fiction, I would classify it in
monsters.
Yeah,
But giant robots are
giant
monsters.
robots.
And we are Monster Candy. Yeah, so we wanted to talk real quick because we had some thoughts on Netflix's latest series, Transformers: War for Cybertron. It's the first of a trilogy they're doing. This one's called Siege, and it all came out. It was shorter than I thought it would be.
What was it, like 6 episodes?
Yeah,
7 or
and it was like six episodes, and it was meant to be kind of a re-summary of all of the Transformers series. You know, this is the Cybertron connection. I think we're going to see Earth the next
Right.
season, and then the third I think involves Beast Wars, which came after my time, and I really
Yeah.
didn't pay attention to that, but I know that was
That
really
was-
popular.
Not my shit.
You know, so
I liked it.
I liked it.
I'm not a big fan of that animation.
No, they got really excited about that, but
I mean, they looked good as related to
they
the
did
old.
look good. Yeah, they
the
looked
original
like G1.
characters.
They
Yeah,
look
you
like
know what I mean?
G1. Rooster T Studios did this.
Yeah.
one.
So that was cool. I'm just not. I prefer pencil animation.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, cell-based animation.
Yeah, you know what I mean. Compared to, just all computer animated. So it's like, ugh. That bugged me. The story, it's a little weird. See, this is my issue with a lot. I know why they do it, because they want to make it a little more involved and in depth for adults, so they can bridge, play both sides of like, oh, it's animation, so like kids will like it, but like adults can get into the story because it's kind of deep.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like that shit. I think that's where a lot of new cartoons, because there's an Ultraman one, that Netflix had on, and like all the Godzilla ones they have, and they want that movie plot and dialogue and story with the animation, which I'm not a fan. Like, if I'm gonna watch a cartoon, I just want it to be fucking simple and kind of
Right.
direct and fun. Like, I don't want to watch it as a movie.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that's the shit that kind of turns me off to that type of stuff. Which, you go back, you watch all those G.I. Joe movies, the G.I. Joe episodes and the Transformers. Like, there's a lot of shit that doesn't make any sense, because they're just like, all right, we have 25 minutes or 22 minutes to fucking, tell the story, and there's going to be a bunch of Transformers and, stuff like
right.
that. Like, so it's not too intriguing, but it's fun. And those were my gripes with it. Aside from that, it was entertaining. I watched also. I was like, I didn't stop at 1 or 2 and like, I'm not into it.
I watched
But
the whole thing. It was funny. It actually kind of functioned like Star Wars: The Last Jedi did for me, where I watched it and enjoyed it, and then I walked out after it was done, and I didn't. Upon review, actually, I read a review of it that was not favorable.
Right.
It named all the pros about it that I liked, and then it named cons, and I agreed with all of them.
The other thing I found kind of weird is the ambiguity of some of the some of the Autobots. Like Bumblebee was like, oh, I don't know, it's just this weird thing where
Yeah,
like
I've seen that in some variations of that
Right.
in comics, where he's more reluctant. But my problem, I had a problem with that.
I just
but
like it's okay. You got Autobots, they're the good guys, and then Decepticons, they're the bad guys.
Well, now
Like,
they're trying to tell a story where there's a little bit more point. Like
Right.
they pulled a lot from the comic series that IDW's done, and they pulled a lot from Marvel, and then toys, and the new version being there's a lot more to the Decepticons'
right.
point of view.
There's more layers. I mean, I
Yeah.
get what they were trying to do, but again, as me, growing up with it,
Mm-hmm.
I don't want like a reimagining of what it is.
Well, that I think is part of the problem, because like they were trying to tell this new summarized story that touches on the main beats of the original, yet reimagines it, and it's like it's almost like at this point it's almost like the Spider-Man series for me. It's like, how many times do I got to see Uncle Ben die? You know what I mean? It's like, okay, we get it. Like we all know how he showed up. It's like famous myth now, but they didn't offer anything new, and the things they changed, I didn't know if I like. So first off, the models looked great. They're based off the Siege toy line,
Right.
but they had a lot of background characters that were just repeat recolors, which is very accurate to the toys, but not as interesting on the screen. Like how many versions of I think it was the 3 robots that form a camera together. Like I forget their name. But, like, there was a lot of those guys in the background. There was a lot of the guys that, like, form into their own guns that can be worn by another... I saw a lot of repeats. And then, like, they took out characters on Cybertron that are actually popular, long-standing characters. Like, sorry, spoiler, but, like, Skywarp, one of the Seekers, is taken out.
Right.
On Cybertron, never got to Earth, is like just dead, and it's like there's others. That's not even the only one. There's plenty of others that they take out, including one very famous later transform, like a transformer that shows up later in the toy series and in the series of the original series of the cartoon, and now is like gone early on.
You know what I hated, and it's always and it's the new version. Jetfire. I hate the face.
Oh,
Jetfire.
see, that's the Jetfire in the original Marvel Comics version, and the cartoon, but not the toy, because the toy was Robotech.
Right.
That's actually they took the Robotech toy and made that Jetfire.
Right.
And that confused everything, because that meant so that Robotech, every time they tried to launch a toy line for that brand, they could never do it because the license in America was already, for the coolest toy, was already taken and made into Jetfire.
And that's the head I love. I'm like, that one looks so much fucking cooler.
But they can't use it
I
because the
know.
design is Robotech.
It just annoys me. It's like I would just rather not have him in a series.
Mm-hmm.
Than to have to look at that fucking head, because I like the Robotech.
That's funny, because you're a toy purist, but the original first appearance of Jetfire looked exactly like that.
Well,
in comics. And
I
Marvel
was
comics.
a fan of Robotech, the original cartoon.
Right.
So I saw that, and then the Jetfire. I'm like, oh, what? Oh my god! Like, and then as a little kid, I was kind of confused. Like, wait. But he looks just like the Robotech guy.
Right.
But that was still cooler to me than his fucking face.
I was looking and got a classic Jetfire toy because it's the Robotech toy.
Right.
And it is so good. But at the same time, it's a little brittle. I wish they'd just remake that for now. Maybe they have. I don't know. But I haven't seen it.
I haven't seen a
I would love to
Masterpiece
see
Jetfire.
oh my god, a Masterpiece, a Robotech
Jetfire.
or Jetfire.
Yeah.
Like I would want that.
Yes.
But I gotta say, the other problem I have with this is there's a lot of plot threads that are just kind of pointless.
Yeah.
Like the whole Ultra Magnus to Bumblebee. I'm not gonna spoil it, but like there's this whole plot that seems like it's really important, and it's partially how Bumblebee gets involved with the Autobots. And it's it's supposed to explain how Optimus Prime and Bumblebee become friends, but it's like it started and it's forgotten about that fast. Yeah. And it was like, dude, this needed another draft. You know?
Yeah, that's part of the reason I'm like, they want to get way too deep and involved with these plots that it just you just end up having shit that doesn't make sense or is quickly forgotten, or you're like, but that's already like a super well established thing and you're changing it, or it's just like taking like this weird detour that it doesn't need to take. So
yeah, I think it would be best if they just had moved the story forward. Like, we saw a whole new world of Transformers, the next stage, them exploring other planets, them going out into space. I don't know, anything other than that.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan.
It wasn't terrible. I mean, It's worth watching. I don't want to make it sound like I'm totally hating on it, but it's definitely like there could have been other.
I know people that like loved it. They're like, oh, it's so good.
Yeah, there's a lot of good in it.
Yeah. So people might like it, but there's definitely some issues with it.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see again
how they evolve it.
What the next? Yeah, because things were changed slightly, and then some things were like kind of totally changed. Like for the first episode or two, I'm like, wait, okay, is this the beginning? Because it kind of seems, but then there's some other shit going on, and I'm like, are they going like in a whole new direction? Mm-hmm. But then when they leave Cybertron, I'm like, oh, now they're going to Earth.
Yeah, and that apparently is going to be one season, and like I said, then it moves forward. Right. So it's condensing the story into a trilogy, a new version. And I'm all for new versions of telling it, but again, it's like it's kind of like how many times we got to see this. You know, I would really like to see the story move forward in other ways. I like when they do that. I mean, I already know, but then again, I don't know if I'm the target. You know what I mean? I'm an adult man, and I'm not sure they're making them for me. You know what I mean? Like, we already have you. You know what I mean? But I liked it. I would recommend checking it out. I'd recommend watching it with your kid. But if you were a Transformer fan and you're really familiar with the lore, just be prepared for them to kind of riff on it. It's a little jazzy riff on it. And the voices are different, but kind of still feel...
There's a lot of Yaz flute being played.
They're just... Well, it's riffing over the original chord structure. It's an interesting new retelling. You know, it's different. And I don't hate it.
Yeah, I'd give it like a 2.5.
Yeah. Really? That's it?
Yeah.
Okay. I'd give it 3. I think I'd give it, like, out of 5, I'd give it a 3. 3 zombie candy corns. I mean, it's definitely worth checking out. But that's not what we're reviewing today, and that's pretty much it for... Thank you, Shotzi.
And now, for the main course.
Yeah, I know. We've given you guys 40 minutes of other stuff. That's actually one of the longer horror news we've done. Or it's just stuff we wanted to talk about.
Yeah, you know, hey, we're just riffing, man.
Sausage party.
Playing some Yaz flute.
Yeah, man. Train to Busan. Wow.
Yeah.
So, a little background. I've heard about this zombie movie from South Korea from 2016 for a while, and I've been intending to watch it. And then E saw that I was intending to watch it, and he said I should. And I have to say, this movie kicks ass. Like,
it is good, and I, as many of you know, and if you don't, I'm going to tell you, I hate subtitled movies.
Do you really?
I hate them.
Oh, see, I don't mind them.
Hate them because, much like a car, I don't want to drive a fucking stick. It's annoying to me. I just want to get in and have the car go vroom and forward.
Right.
I don't have to dick around with anything else. Watching a movie, I don't want to have to do anything other than just plant my eyes on that fucking screen and not have to read anything. But anyway.
I'm a fast reader, so I guess it doesn't... Yeah, I don't...
Yeah, reading, it's not the reading, it's just I don't like to...
A lot of people feel that way.
go down and then like, okay, I gotta read this and then back up.
Right.
Read it and back, like that gets old to me real quick, and I'm just
Right,
like,
right.
fuck, I don't care, you know. But this and another movie, Let the Right One In.
Oh, that's a good one.
I had no issues with it because I was gonna say this a little later, but I'll start with it. It's a simple story with simple characters that are easily developed that you don't necessarily have to even know what they're saying. Which is very indicative of a good writer, because the acting is telling you all you need to know in the movie.
Yeah. No, you don't even need to translate what they're saying to understand and enjoy this movie. You wouldn't need subtitles. And the characters do develop. You really do see... Rarely do you see well-executed ensemble character pieces develop so well. Like, they're not... Like you said, the characters aren't super complex, but they are true to themselves for the entire course of the movie, and their evolution happens. Like, just about every important character goes from point A to point B, and you get it. You get why that path happened for them.
Yeah.
You know, and it doesn't ever feel like forced. There was never a moment where I felt like, oh, that character wouldn't do that, or oh, whatever, or that's cringy. It was always like, no, that dude's like this, and then by the time it ended, he was like this, and she was like that, and by the time it ended, she was like this, and it really made sense in an extreme situation,
Right.
Of why they were behaving
you
the
could
way
just
they were.
tell facial expressions, body language.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's a really smart movie and well acted movie because, like I said, I watched it the first time, and I was reading what they're saying and everything, but again, the actual story, what's going on, wasn't too complicated where like you might miss something or whatever. You could, it was pretty straightforward, so you could focus on both. But rewatching it the second time, like, I barely read anything and just watched, really focused on the acting and the people in it. And I was like, man, they're really actually telling the story really well without me understanding them, hearing them.
Totally.
Like, just watching them, like, okay, not even reading the subtitles, I can see what is transpiring between these two characters.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I thought that was really good.
I also appreciate any movie that can take the zombie trope, which I do love, but have seen so many fucking times, so many versions of, and can make me feel something in it. Like, there are some sacrifices that happen in this movie, and some deaths that are like, oh, I felt that, man. I'm really sorry to see that character go. Or that's epic. That's like, that's really heroic. Or that wasn't heroic, but totally like like that. Damn. You know what I mean? Like, everybody in this has like this powerful moment. You do care about these characters. They matter. You understand them. You feel like you know them a little. They're not like cardboard cutouts. There was never a time where I was like, oh, I don't care about this at all. Like, I did. I cared about the evolution of all of them, and it's just real tight writing. And as much as I like Snowpiercer, which is another movie on the train, this is a better train movie.
Oh, 100%. And it's clever the way they do it on the train.
Yeah.
And still keep the old, isolation type tropes of zombie movies that typically happen, like, oh, they're stuck in this house, or they're, or horror movies, the claustrophobic feeling you get from a good horror movie, Night of the Living Dead, The Shining, where it's like, oh, they're stuck in there, but they're out in the open. Realistically, the train keeps moving.
Yeah, never stops.
They're confined inside, and it sets up a whole. It's a real clever way to retell a zombie movie.
Honestly, filmmaker Edgar Wright, who directed Shaun of the Dead, which is another movie I love, he called this one of the best zombie movies he'd seen in forever, and I have to 100% agree. Like, I was I walked into this a little tired of zombie movies, and this totally reminded me why it was great. And they're fast-moving zombies,
which I don't like.
Which generally, I like the analogy of zombies being the never-ending, steadily creeping death. Now, I did like 28 Days Later, the first one. Second one's good too, but it's really all about 28 Days Later. And that was like one of the better fast movie angry zombie movies. But now I gotta put this one on the list because it still felt, the way the movie was paced and edited still felt, even though the zombies moved fast, it still felt like it was a steady, never-ending progression of death as the passengers of the train slowly the group that we're following gets smaller and smaller and smaller. You know what I mean? Like, and yet we still have the progression of the characters before they die. So there's like a very interesting, like, ooh, you know, every loss you feel, you know, and they just get, until you get to the ending and you're like, it's not 100% surprise who lives, but at the same time, when you think about it, but at the same time, it completely makes sense that's why who lived. Because so many people would have sacrificed along the way to ensure this survival.
Yeah,
and they did, realistically.
The pace of the movie's great. It's only like, what, under 2 hours long? Just under. It's like an hour and 54 minutes or something like that.
I'm looking it up right now. It's not long.
Yeah. So it's like they get right into it. They give you
a tight movie.
They give you a little setup in the beginning, you know, between the
an hour and 58 minutes. It is just 2 minutes short of 2 hours, and it doesn't drag.
No. You know, they give you a little bit of setup between the dad and Sue-Ann.
Mm-hmm.
You know, with some other minor characters, his mom, his wife that he's separated from.
Mm-hmm.
Like just a little, and just the way he is, they give, you know, 5 maybe 10 minutes set up on that, and then they get on the train, and then it just goes.
Yeah, it just goes.
And then you get the other characters introduced, and like I said, the acting is so good. Like you get them, and you get engaged with them, and they develop. It's just really good writing, and. The couple, the big guy and the pregnant woman.
Yeah, it's that is actually actor Dong Seok Ma. I think I'm saying that right.
I'm just gonna describe them by the way they look. I'm not even
I apologize in advance for possibly getting. It's Dong Seok Ma who plays Sang Hwa. Hwa. I'm so sorry. I'm such a white guy right now. And then I think that the wife is, I think it's Yuma Jung, and she plays
his wife,
Seong Kyung, and the pregnant lady. I might be wrong, but I don't.
But their relationship and the way they interact, hilarious.
Yes.
And realistic.
It's funny because it gives you an initial impression of their relationship and their character,
right? And
that turns out to not be correct,
right?
Like it turns out, but in a realistic way. Like you totally get why it wasn't cringy, it wasn't cheesy. You get why they come off like a henpecked husband and a real bitchy wife, but then you understand that it's like that was just a situation. It's actually not that, and situation. It's funny too. Yeah, it's funny, and it evolves, and then you realize what kind of couple they actually are and who their personalities are.
Right.
And, apparently, Dong Seok Ma, I'm saying that right, I apologize to every Korean that's listening, was nominated for a 2017 Asian Film Award for Best Supporting Actor category for his role, and he totally deserves it. And I guess he's actually a physical trainer to the main actor.
Oh,
the dad, that's his trainer. It used to be his personal trainer, and then they got to act in a movie together.
Interesting. They're like the South Korean Simon Pegg and fucking Ed.
Yeah, I mean, I could have watched. I mean, that guy's character, Sang Hwa, Dong Seok Ma was my favorite. And you said you love that couple as their characters.
Yeah,
but that his character was awesome.
And the daughter. Really great actress. you really believe
Yeah, she
that
was great.
she's, upset about everything, or you know what I mean?
Yeah.
She makes you feel like, all right, I understand what she's going through. Like it's real. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and there's like, I guess New York Times Jeanette Casolis selected the film as her critics' pick. Like a lot of people love this movie, but because of the noticeable subtle class warfare, and there is between like the working class, between the business,
Totally.
the corporate, the more rich, like children, women and men. There's a lot of subtle, but not overpowering.
Which
Really masterfully done.
is the way to do it, because it'll make you think
It-
about it more, as opposed to like beating you over the face with it, which I hate, because I'm like, I want to be entertained,
Yeah.
so I want the entertainment to be the main focus, and then all the other stuff that's woven in to be like, oh yeah, I can see how they did about that, but like I don't want to be like, am I watching the news right now, or you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I get
so
that.
I
get that.
I like how it was subtle. It's there, but if you don't want to focus on it, you don't have to.
Well, I have to say, like, I have a much more higher tolerance to those kind of messages in horror than I think you do. We've talked about that before, where I don't mind it as much. Like, if you have a point, it's totally fine to put it in your movie. Just be entertaining with how you're going to do it. But I have to say, this is one of those movies that I think is a bit of a crowd pleaser both ways. Kind of like the movie Parasite, another very famous foreign film to have come out, where it's like there's a really great story there, but there's also a social commentary.
Right.
And there's enough there for somebody like myself, and it's well integrated into the story for someone like yourself. And I think that this is the kind of most successful variation of that, where it's a crowd pleaser all the way around. And considering that it is the first Korean film to break the audience record of over 10 million moviegoers, they had about 11 million. I'm not surprised. Like, this is a really entertaining zombie movie. Like, and Alan, I'm telling you, this time I feel pretty secure in going on the line for this one.
Alan, you should watch this.
This one's a good one, Alan. I don't think your wife's going to be bummed.
Unless she hates subtitles.
If
then
she
she's
hates
gonna be
subtitles,
pissed.
then I don't know. But this is a good, like, this is a damn good zombie movie. It's just it's hard for me to find a thing I didn't like. Like, there wasn't anything that I felt.
Before I get to something I didn't like,
No.
the deer scene in the beginning was super cool.
Yeah,
I liked
was.
it. You
It
know,
was cool.
just
Yeah.
how it gets back up and its eyes are white.
Yeah.
And I like the things that they introduced, like how they were kind of like fucking parrots. Like once the lights go out, because I guess they're blind.
Yeah, something's going on.
So
there.
like they don't know.
Or they don't see well.
Right, So I was like, oh, that's cool.
It was a fun
You know?
variation on the virus. I felt for the first girl sitting on the toilet, just saying "I'm sorry" over and over again. As she's dying, and she knows she's dying, but has no idea just how badly she's dying. But
Shit's gonna go south real quick.
yeah, I mean, it's a little. If anything, I'd say it's a little uncomfortable watching right now. As far as viruses spreading and like talk of all that stuff.
Wah.
But I mean, and even seeing people trying to do a good job of not spreading it and trying to protect everyone, and it just not fucking working. That's actually one thing I want to say. This movie does do the classic trope of people turning on each other in a disaster. And I have to say, I'm not saying that those people don't exist. They totally do. But I'm sure that they do. But I have to say that I've been involved in a couple disasters that I've gotten to witness up close. The most recent was being stuck in Houston a couple years back during Hurricane Harvey. And I watched people in a disaster, nobody that I saw or encountered during the rescue efforts of flooded neighborhoods in town. Like, people were trying to help each other as best that they could. I was part of a group that organized themselves to help supplement the official services of rescue, and would go into certain neighborhoods and start evacuating people and taking down everybody's how many people were in a house and their address and who needed to be removed because the water was still climbing. And then when the official authorities showed up, rescue did show up, turned over all the information, so they had a map to get to everyone. They knew where everybody was, who'd been rescued, who wasn't. They were ready to go. And I would watch people in a disaster, like, get their families out. We'd help, people would help get their families out, and then I'd watch as some of them would turn around and join the effort to get other people out. And it was never like, you're already in the hole. No, there's no one helping you. You're already in the hole. There was none of that. There was no, like, running away from somebody that was in trouble. Everybody tried to help everyone. And I did hear the Texas Texas judges had said that, like, announced on the radio, if we see you loot, you will be shot on sight. And if you do survive that, and I see you, they said this on the radio, like, I'm going to put you away for as long as I possibly can. So, like, the judges and the sheriffs in Texas had taken over a lot of that stuff. So I'm sure there were people who were looting. I don't want to sound naive.
Right.
There were people who were trying to take advantage of this situation. But for the most part, people were not that kind of shitty where they lock each other out, or hold each other back. I heard even more stories from that situation of people. There was suddenly no racism. There was no classism. It was just people trying to help people
survive
a situation. Now, after it was immediately over and the water receded, and during the cleanup effort, that's when I saw fucked up shit. I would see people running through trying to convince homeowners whose house had been flooded that they could fix that house in 24 hours, 48 hours, and they'd get them a new floor, new walls, and they'd be ready to go. And that, if anybody understands how flooding damages a house, you can't do that. You have to dry out the whole house, otherwise you get black rot. You get black mold and rot. And you can cover it up and make it look really nice, but it's still going to be shit. So they'd come through with bottom-nose prices. They'd pry up the floorboards. They'd just cover it all up while it was wet inside, not letting that person know that they were actually getting fucked with a shit job. Because there's no way around it. You have to get all your stuff out. You have to bring in fans. You have to dry the house out completely and clearly, and then replace anything that's too damaged. And it just takes up time. So, like, I saw shitty behavior in people trying to con people out as much money as they could get before anyone else did, or before anyone could explain to them that was the way you wanted to do it. Because people just wanted their houses back. And it was just like hearing about people who would like, yeah, I got it done in like 2 days with no problem. And it was like, oh, your house is a fucking ticking time bomb of like making you sick. If it's not, and it's going to happen eventually. There's a chance it wouldn't, but more likely it would. Especially in that environment. So that's what I saw. So it's like this movie does take advantage of the trope of like certain people who just will not help anyone else. I didn't see that in disasters that I was involved in. I saw people rising to the occasion in ways I didn't expect. Yeah. So, I mean, I don't mean to lecture on for a couple minutes, but that was just something I always figured that people would act like there would always be the shithead. But I was raised on watching movies and shows where there's always a shithead. Who's ready to slam the door in your face. And I always thought, dude, that would happen to me. Somebody would fucking slam the fucking door in my face. And
you're like, why?
Yeah, or like cut the bridge and like run away, take the car and leave us. But I didn't see it when I really had a chance to see it. I didn't see that happen. And I don't think it's just Texas. I saw it in California too. Yeah. The shitty stuff comes after.
You'll definitely have that, but you'll have the other two. You know what I mean?
I think there was more of but I think on the whole, it's more of the other. Yeah, there are people who will not rise to the occasion, but a lot of people do.
Yeah. I
mean, I didn't see anybody trip. You know what I mean? Like, there was no hesitation to save anyone who needed help. They put aside all the politics, they put aside all the social shit, and they just helped people. And that was really, like, my perception of people changed that trip. That I was stuck in Houston. I had nowhere to go. I was with some friends, thank God. But like seeing people really react in a situation and not be fucking douchebags was pretty helpful.
Yeah, but you've never been in a zombie apocalypse. Or stuck on a train.
Yeah, I mean, I've never been there. And I can see where people who are frightened in the moment of being frightened might do something shitty. Like, close the door on somebody and leave them. But, like...
Toss a zombie on some unsuspecting cheerleader girlfriend.
Just really bad.
But I mean,
yeah, I just didn't... I don't know. I think I think humans are a little bit better than we give ourselves credit for.
Sometimes.
Just a little. Not a lot, but at least in a disaster. But I mean, in the moment of fear, I can't necessarily speak to that.
Car 13.
Yeah.
That scene, this is the one problem I had.
Okay.
One of them. All right. And I've seen some other zombie movies do this. Look, you're not punching zombies in the face if you get infected from a bite with bare hands.
Yeah, bare knuckle.
Which, the big guy,
Mm-hmm.
they just wrap their forearms up, and then he's punching zombies left and right, marching through.
I mean,
and
he's
I'm like,
mostly grappling, but yes.
he's punching a lot of them. I'm like, look, you're gonna get that's not the way. Probably could have been a better way to do that. But I mean,
it looked cool, but my problem with that, and I'm gonna go along with you, is they gave the guy in the back the shield. The guy in the front needed the shield.
Yeah.
Because he's clearing the path.
Yeah.
And pushing people back.
Would have
He's the
made way
big guy.
more sense.
Yeah, if he had the shield, and then a bat should probably not be in the middle, but it could also be the person that pushes people off the shield. Like,
right.
The big guy who's going to be clearing a path for people behind him should have the shield. Yeah. And 28 days later, we saw that, like where a big guy with a shield was able to block passageway and use it offensively and defensively to get to defend himself. And I think that like I watched that scene set up and I was like, I'll give it credit, like it looked cool, but it was like the tools are in the wrong order. You know what I mean? Like I probably even would have put the bat at the end, and he would defend the back, the rear, and as well as supply to the front, and then the front, any weapon he could get his hands on. But essentially, like the shield should have gone to the big guy who has to clear the path.
Yeah, that was.
He shouldn't. The big guy in the front should not be sticking his fingers anywhere near a bite or saliva, because if a bite works, a scratch works.
Right.
One scratch.
Right. There's it's zombie mania. Who knows how it works? But yeah, in theory, you'd think, okay.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's rules for contagion.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, so
which is what this is.
Yeah. Conceptually. Tired. It's been a long week, everybody. Conceptually, if a bite and saliva and blood infects, then that means spit, that means piss, shit, sweat, mucus, anything gets in your open wound, eyes, mouth, that's the transfer. And that's what'll screw you up. That'll be what'll
or by punching zombies in the face.
Yeah, but I don't see any. I mean, I don't know. I wonder if there isn't any virus that's ever worked that fast as this works, or the 28 days later virus, which is this is essentially could even be the 28 days later virus. It works pretty much the same.
Pretty quick.
Yeah, like I don't know of any virus that spreads through a body that fast. Like that infection rate, because that would burn itself out really fast. Yeah. Because eventually, if it's raging through a body like that, that means it's moving fast and it's going to burn itself out fast, and the host is going to die fast.
Yeah, I cannot disagree with you on that.
Yeah, I remember when Walking Dead was going on for season, someone did the math based on just
the amount of people versus
infection rates that are known, and at that rate. And they figured out, like, what, by this third season, like the beginning of the third season, the zombies would have already choked themselves out. Like, if you could hold off throughout that, like, they would eventually all rot to a point where they couldn't attack you, and there wouldn't be enough zombies to infect everybody anymore. Like, it would have already, like, peaked its way out after it was only like
certain
3
number
seasons.
of years. Yeah.
Then they slowly start just dying off and falling apart and not being able to infect anyone.
Yeah, I agree.
But, science of zombies.
You can pick and choose sometimes.
Yeah.
It's the beauty of a movie. But yeah, that was my one big issue. Like,
yeah. It looked cool.
But I'm like, that's not, and especially how he ends up getting bit.
Yeah.
In the end anyway, holding the door. I'm like, dude, you just punched 5 zombies in the face. Like, you're not... If anyone's ever punched people,
that's the thing I think about when I see stuff like this, is that people don't know what it's like to get hit and to punch something. Because punching stuff like that, one, he wrapped his arms wrong for punching. And you know what I mean. Like, he wrapped his arms wrong for punching.
Well, they all wrap their forearms. So I'm like, okay, they're gonna block the things with their. But I'm
that's
like,
still, you got a
right.
lot. Like,
I mean,
you should have
your
wrapped
hands.
You wrap up to the knuckle.
At least.
Yeah, and you pad the hell out of that knuckle. Because when you punch people, for those of you who don't know, you will cut your knuckles
on their teeth.
On their teeth. And I mean, you'll break their teeth. Yeah. You'll break a jaw. Like okay, I'll admit it. I broke a jaw once.
How dare you?
Yeah.
You're so
at least
violent.
Once. But it hurt. It hurt my hand.
You're such a brute.
I know how to punch and still, I still felt it.
But
I didn't break my hand. I didn't break it, but I had scrapes from that fight.
Right.
Like, and that was a fight with it's a long story, but it was a guy on angel dust.
Yeah.
and he was crazy, and I got scratched.
Yeah, you'll definitely cut your knuckles on teeth punching people that aren't actively trying to bite you.
Yeah.
So punching someone whose literal only meaning in life at the moment is biting you, your hands are going to get cut.
Your hands are going to get cut in a way that it will infect you.
100%.
Like, that teeth there'll be saliva on your fist.
Yeah.
There'll be blood on your fist. When you pop somebody, it's like there's an exchange of fluids that Hollywood and, in this case, South Korea, are ignoring to make this more cinematic. But
which I get, and I'm being picky.
No, it's picky, but I mean, if we're going to look at it like, okay, let's get a criticism.
If you were going to fight your way through a train car full of zombies,
a lot of people, some
probably
people get in fights, but not everyone gets in fights. Not everyone knows what it's like.
That would probably not be the way to do it.
I will never forget when Ronda Rousey, am I saying her name, got her jaw broken in a fight, and then was going to fight again. And I told you before that happened, because I don't watch the fights like you watched, and I was like, I don't know if even she understands that once you break something, it doesn't heal the same. Like, your jaw might work, it could get wired, you do whatever it takes, it comes together. It's now a weak spot. You can break it again easier than before. I know they say things build up stronger than before. That's muscle. That's different. Muscle will heal. You tear a muscle and you working out, it builds up stronger.
Well, some bones will heal and they'll calcify, so it'll be hard. But a jaw is
a little
fragile, different. It's fragile anyway.
It's a reason that's a target.
Yeah.
Like, there's a couple bones that are easier to break. I mean, I'm totally talking boxing shit here, but like, that's one of them that's easy to break. It's not easy to break, but it can be broke. And when it's broke, it not only becomes, things don't heal right. Like, you feel them. Like, I've broken fingers and I feel them.
Well, then
still.
you're gonna have plates and shit in your mouth.
Like, it's just different. And then I saw her do that second fight and she got popped in the jaw, and then she just was like, I'm not doing it, because she felt it. And it's also a mental thing, because it fucks you up. You are sipping food through a straw.
Once you start getting knocked out, after the first time or two you get knocked out, your tolerance for getting knocked out drops dramatically.
It's a not fun feeling.
And
to go to sleep.
Well, it's just you're just more susceptible to get knocked out.
Have you ever been knocked out? Like, legitimately knocked out?
Not from fights, but from riding BMX. Like crashing.
You knocked yourself out?
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that would do it.
But I've never unconscious.
I've never gone fully unconscious. I've had two people hit me hard enough. One hit me hard enough to lay me out, and I immediately, like, snapped awake going, what am I doing on the ground? Like, he rung my bell, and then the only thing that makes me feel good about it is I got up and I knocked him down too. But I mean, he hit hard, and I laid me out. It was one of the few times that ever happened, and it really fucked with my ego, because you just do not know how vulnerable you are in reality. There's always somebody in the world who can knock you down.
Oh yeah.
And then the second time was a bunch of guys, and a guy hit me behind the ear from behind, and I took a knee. I was like, everything faded. It was like crossing your eyes. Everything faded, and it's almost like the movies where everything gets like this. And then I came back, but I had taken a knee. I was down on my knee, and I think it freaked them all out when I got up. But I mean, it's just so weird how you just go, you lose, everything goes rubbery, and you're just like,
yeah. And
if you're out, you're like,
anytime I've never been knocked out where I've like been put to sleep.
yeah, never like that, but
Even punches.
I passed out.
Punches, I've never really gotten my bell rung. But riding, like I've lost 8 hours of a day
Holy shit, really?
because I was just blacked out, but
Whoa.
functioning, and then I would just come to. It's happened twice.
Oh, you were conscious to people, but you don't remember. That's a concussion.
Oh yeah.
That's a concussion, sir.
Oh
That
yeah.
is straight up like the concussion that they warn you about, like don't go to sleep when it happens too early. You gotta let everything sort of settle down when you get a concussion. That is a blackout concussion. That's fucked.
So
Wow, you're hearing this. This is getting real, people.
The
This
first
is worth your
time-
hour and 15 minutes in.
shout out to fucking Push Trails, fucking South Hills, Pennsylvania. What's up? So these trails are pretty big.
Mm-hmm.
My brother would take me there. Fuck, shout out to Tater Co. So we're riding, I'm riding them like, and they had the 8-pack. It's the big set of jumps, big ones. And the first little set, into the 8-pack, which if you don't know BMX, a set is you have a lip and a landing, take off and a landing, and you have 4 of those, 8. So it's an 8, doubles. But there's a little jump to get into that rhythm section. So I jump it, and I don't nose into it. I land with my back tire, and I was 14, maybe 13. I was young, so I was just starting to like really ride BMX. So I catch the back tire and kind of like down, and I loop out and smack my head off that first intro set.
Did you have a helmet on at the time?
No.
Yeah.
No. I don't remember shit. All I remember is asking my brother over and over again, what time is it? Because you do that when you're knocked out. What time is it? What time is it? That was the first time. Second time, at our own trails, fucking Rigid Trails, West Mifflin, what up? The Myth, I overshoot this new set we built. This is probably the second set in like a 6-pack. And I overshoot the fuck out of it. Like, missed the landing completely. Hit flat, smack my face off my handlebars.
That's what I thought you were going to say the first time. Yeah.
I don't remember shit.
Jesus.
I remember getting a back rub probably around 8 o'clock at night, and this happened 2:30. I slightly remember this from fucking one of these little fucking BMX birds that used to hang out. These ghetto birds that would hang out with us. A girl I was not into, but I do remember her taking advantage of me and rubbing my shoulders, and I'm like, I had no fucking clue.
Yeah, you were just...
I was just zoned out the whole fucking time. Afterwards, I remember that. I'm like, what in the fuck? Like,
That's scary.
it's kind of creepy.
That is creepy.
To
It's
be all
really
like, yeah, I'm
creepy.
like, to have someone that's not into it, but apparently to everyone else, I was there. I was just
But
not there.
You weren't there.
Then I go back to Bubba's house, my buddy.
You've talked to him
Yeah.
before.
Bob Kramer, what up? Anyway, so we're sitting, and that's where we always met before we go ride at his place, and we went back there because I was obviously still kind of out of it.
Mm-hmm.
I remember coming to. We were in his room watching, I think it was an S&M video, not Sex S&M, S&M Bikes video.
Thank you for the clarification.
Right? I remember coming to, looking at the clock, and it was like 10:15, and I'm like, fuck, I gotta get home. So I get picked up, fucking go back home, but I'm still like out of it. Like I just remember coming to like, okay, I know where I'm at.
Did you tell him that you were like that you just came to?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
He was like, yeah, dude, you were like asking what time it was, like all night. You know what I mean? Just same shit. So I get home and I had homework to do, right? And this I'm like 16 at this time, maybe 15. And I think it was algebra 1 or algebra 2, right? Not simple addition, but it wasn't too hard. I was always pretty good at math. Dude, it was like the scene in Summer School. None of you've seen Summer School. Watch it, where he has the dream and he goes down to eat with his family, eat breakfast, and they're like, do you want some milk? Do you want some eggs? And he's like, eggs? What are eggs? Dude, I was looking at math and it might as well have been Greek.
That's terrifying.
It freaked me the fuck out. I was and I couldn't even do like simple addition. My brain was fucking scrambled.
Wow.
So this is like literally 8 hours of just checked the fuck out.
I did realize that I have knocked myself out in an accident underwater.
Ooh.
I dove into a swimming pool in the shallow end and I hit my head and I
Don't
ended
dive.
up breaking or cracking the same invertebrae in my neck that Christopher Reeves did to go paralyzed, but I didn't sever my spinal cord.
Maybe because you're the real Superman.
I've taken some tremendous punishment and it has yielded very small. My bones do not break easy, and that was when I was young. That's a whole nother story. But like my bones it takes a lot to break my bones. I do not want to test it though. But yeah, it was I dove into a swimming pool, hit my head on the bottom, and completely blacked out for a second. Probably about like long enough that everyone at the pool started freaking out. And just before anyone could jump in, just long enough for everybody to realize something was wrong. And just before somebody jumped in to get me, I started moving and I came to the surface. And I was just in so much pain. Like, I smacked my head and my neck was jacked. But that's the only time. But the whole purpose of this story is to tell you that if you punch somebody trying to bite you and you don't have wrapped knuckles or hands and gloves, you are going to get bit. You're going to get scratched, and you're going to get infected and turned into a zombie.
And if you do black out for hours,
careful who you are with.
Be careful who you're around, because you might have some ghetto bird rubbing off on you.
I did not address that enough of the abuse that you just revealed that you suffered.
We were all friends, but it was just like she definitely saw an opportunity. It was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna try and get some.
Okay.
Get physical. I was
that
like,
was
what
not
the
consent.
fuck?
That was not consent, sir.
100%. Or who knows? Maybe I was like, yeah, get on them shoulders, girl. I don't fucking know, because I don't remember shit. Who knows what the fuck I was saying?
Perfect.
But yeah, it's blacking out's fucking crazy.
That's crazy.
But yes, wrap your fucking hands. My one gripe with the movie.
He wrapped him wrong. Yeah,
he should have had something on his hands if they were gonna fucking punch people, and he should have had the shield. So yeah. The ending. See, the other issue I had. Okay, so after they get on the, well, you know what? Let's talk about the homeless, crazy guy.
Mm-hmm.
Who's actually a really likable character.
Yeah,
I liked him.
He's good. He's good. Yeah, his character is the least developed start to finish, but definitely you could see how people react to him is interesting.
Probably the most important character to get the ending that we have, because he does save the girl and the pregnant woman.
Yes, he does.
So that was cool. But after that, the dickhead CEO or whatever of the company, he turns into a zombie, and then Sue-Ann's dad, it's like the last stand on the thing. Why? I mean, zombie apocalypse, you're all freaked out, you're tired, you're not thinking, he's going to attack your kid and some lady you just met whose husband turned into a zombie that, the rapport between the dad and the big guy is pretty funny because he's obviously the working class guy versus the fucking, the suit.
Yeah,
he's
the
like,
suit
oh, look at you,
executive.
you know what I mean? That was pretty good, but yeah, he grabs him by the face. He grabs the CEO
By the face.
from the back by the face. So many other places you could have grabbed to impede his, proceeding to get to the thing. Grabbing him by the face.
Let's not grab zombies by the face. It's a bad idea.
You've obviously been through a whole shit show and have seen people getting bit and turned into things.
It was
Why'd
definitely a bad calculation. I agree. Yeah, that's.
You
There's some technical fight stuff in there that's like.
but I'm just like, and I get it. They had to figure out some way
Yeah.
for it to be the girl.
But they
at
could
the
have done
end.
that. They could have done that a couple different ways.
Yeah,
But I mean, I see what you're saying. I love the ending, and the tie-in to earlier in the movie
right,
with the song. I
right.
thought that was kind of cool, and that being what saves them. Which sounds cheesy if you haven't watched it, but I mean, come on, you should watch this movie.
Yeah, it works.
It works.
It works for sure.
Yeah, it shows actually a progression for her. But they clearly were trying to get to a certain point.
Yeah, they're like, you know what? Let's just do that. And you're like he's already been through so much shit of being super careful.
He should have learned. He should have learned by then.
Should learn his lesson. And I kind of wish he would have lived.
Yeah.
I
I guess it was a little too much for a zombie movie. That's too much positivity.
Yeah, which is why I'm like, it's like I kind of wished it could have been like a good father-daughter, like an estranged dad. He's not always home because he's always working, and but he ends up getting his daughter through. I mean, he does get her through the zombie apocalypse.
He did. He got her through.
So the ultimate sacrifice, I get that, but it would have just been, I would have preferred it.
Yeah.
But I get, again, I get why they did that.
Yeah. No, it makes sense.
A lot of cool scenes in there.
Yeah, a lot of really well done scenes.
One of my favorite is when the zombies are up kind of on the catwalk and the train's going under, and then they all fall out of the window.
They're just going after whatever's moving.
Right?
It's
And then
train.
they just bounce on the train and fucking bounce off. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, that was awesome. It's a great movie, and I definitely recommend it. We're at that time. We're at an hour. This is one of our longer episodes.
There's a lot of shit to talk about.
Yeah, but so what would you give this? How many
Cute zombie,
candy corns?
fast moving candy corns. For a foreign film with subtitles, to get me to watch it, first of all, is good. It's like a feat in and of
so
itself.
That's impressive. Yeah.
And for it to come through as well as it did is pretty amazing. I do love zombie movies, but I'd probably say like a 4 out of 5.
Yeah. Yeah.
I thought the characters were simple, like I said earlier, simple but well developed and easy to digest and likable or hateable.
Yeah.
Like there's not a lot of setup as to like what it's gonna be. Like, well, I'm kind of indifferent on this character, like whatever. You either the ones you're supposed to hate, you hate,
Right.
or you dislike. You know what I mean? And the ones you like, you're supposed to like. So it's like
There's a few subversions, but really it's pretty spelled out.
yeah. So yeah, 4 out of 5.
I'm gonna go for a full 5 on this one.
Okay, good.
And my reasoning being is I don't have the hesitation with subtitles or the foreign horror film. I don't think a better zombie movie of this version, I don't think a better version of it could be made. I don't want to see a remake of this. I don't want somebody to try and fix it or do a version of it, dumb it down, improve it. No, there's nothing. There's no better version of this story. This is a perfect zombie movie with a train on a train. Like, I don't see how... I mean, I'm not saying that somebody can't make one and make an awesome one, but I don't want to see this get remade. I don't want to see an American version of this. I mean, if they do, I'll watch it, and hopefully, if they follow what this does, if they follow it close, it'll be awesome. But I honestly believe that they maximized what they were doing here. You know, it's tightly written, great characters, great development. Despite being fast-moving zombies, which I don't have a problem with, but they're not my favorite. 28 Days Later is the only one I really like with that, but like this one still feels like a creeping sense of dread as they get picked off. It's just well put together. Act 1, 2, 3, I don't think they could do better with this. Well, it's a 5.
It's a good analogy for the train. Mm-hmm. Zombies invade, just keeps going.
Yeah.
Just keeps going forward. That's it.
Yeah. I mean, like Fury Road, I don't think you could do a better chase movie. I think that, you know what I mean? Like that's a 5. This is a 5. This is a zombie. This is a movie that I think people who love zombie movies should definitely see. If you haven't seen it, I mean, if you listen to this whole episode and you hadn't seen it, I don't know what to say. But I'm going to say this.
Surprise.
But I will say this in the description we posted. It's like, I know people don't listen to our episodes until they've seen it. This is something you should tell people to see. I feel like zombie fans, if you are truly a horror zombie fan, this is one of the movies that I would tell you to watch. I tell you to watch Night of the Living Dead. I tell you to watch the remake Dawn of the Dead is a fun one to watch. I'd say that you should watch Shaun of the Dead. There's a few out there that I'd say. If I had to prepare a zombie list, that's not all of them. There's others. But I would 100% say this movie as well. This movie's totally on that list of great zombie movies that if you love zombies, watch this. This is one of them.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah.
It's really good. And it does a good...
and that is my best thing. E likes it. If E likes it, that's worth another star from me. Like, you go from a 4 to a 5 because he liked it.
Well, it just does a good... It's not even a retelling.
No.
But it sticks to the tropes.
Yeah.
And the like, oh, hey, oh, man, we're safe. Okay, we're going to go... Oh, shit, we're not. Fuck, everybody run. Like, we got to get back to where... You know what I mean? It's just... And just all the good tropes of a zombie movie, but told... in a different, they're the same tropes, just told in a different way, in a different setting.
Yeah.
And I think works really well.
It does.
So, y'all motherfuckers need to fucking see it.
There you go, guys. You heard it from us. And what Shotzi said about this movie, who knows? She lost her car. She was busy doing other stuff.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we didn't ask her for her rating this time. But, like, 100% check it out. Thank you guys for listening to this episode. My name is Dominic. This is E.
What up? See you later, motherfuckers.
And we are Monster Candy Podcast. We will see you next time with another horror movie that does not feature Nick Cage.
Oh, yeah.
I'm really glad that
that chapter of our life is over.
I just can't go back right now. I need a break, and this was good. Eat a banana. You've been listening to Monster Candy Podcast. Want to find out more about the show? Find us on the web at monstercandypodcast.com. You can also find us on Facebook and Instagram by searching Monster Candy Podcast. And you can find our Twitter at MonsterCNDYPC. Hey, we couldn't fit the whole name. What do you want from us? Let us know what you think of the show and if we're right or if we're wrong or what you want us to tackle next. We want to hear from you. Well, Shotzi and I do, but I can promise that E doesn't really care. To find out more about Shotzi Blackheart and her professional wrestling, follow her Twitter at Shotzi Black or her Instagram at Shotzi Blackheart. You can follow Screamin E's band, the Memphis Murder Men, on Facebook at TMMM official page or his Instagram at Screamin E. That's screaming with no G, add the E. For me, Dominic Davi, you can find my artwork at dominicdavi.com, my band Tsunami Bomb at tsunamibomb.net, and you can hear my other podcast, 3 Gigs, at 3gigspodcast.com or on the same platform you're hearing this podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you next time on Monster Candy Podcast.
my peanuts.